0.84 earthquake that just happened. Because like in Michigan, there's like measured earthquakes that happen every few years, but they're always so minuscule that you can't even feel them. So it's not even worth it.
Sounds like
it was really just it's like geology nerds would share the information around. So I would like to experience, well, let's put it this way. I would love to experience one that is safe and causes no damage and no injuries, because I think it would be interesting. And I like other natural weather phenomena that is scary, but not ultimately life-threatening.
Yeah, I think that's totally valid. I love storms and shit. So.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of storms, and I love it when like little tornadoes touch down that like can't do anything but stir up some trash, but there you can see them clearly.
A tornado spawned at my community college parking lot and like turned over several cars, which was like totally bonkers.
That's
oh my god,
that's scary.
That's very scary.
I would definitely stay inside if I saw that happening outside.
But it appeared. I think knocked over a car with someone in it.
Oh my god!
And then like disappeared. It was like gone. It was just like boop.
The scariest tornado thing that ever happened. We used to have tornadoes all the time in Florida, which made me really, really terrified because I like as a kid, that was one of my biggest fears was tornadoes. And then once we moved to Michigan, we still had them fairly frequently. And I just got over it because they were around pretty frequently and they never like did any damage or anything. But the scariest tornado experience I ever had was after I was over my fear of them. There was a huge storm happening and I was in the basement of my apartment building with a bunch of neighbors, and we had the one guy who lived like he basically lived in the basement, but he lived in a unit in the basement around the corner from the laundry room we were hiding in. He had his door open so he could kind of like watch the weather through his door. And we were sitting around and I could see that like they were talking about how a tornado was touching down. My dad lived like 20 minutes away and there's like a tornado touching down and it was in my dad's area. And my dad started texting me and he was like, wow, there's a tornado touching down. That's a big one. Wow, it's coming right this way. We're going to go in the basement, I think. And then just like nothing from him. And like seeing on the news how like, oh, this tornado is ravaging my dad's neighborhood. And I was like, and so I just like spent the next like half hour like texting him like, what is going on? Are you dead? And then he was like, oh, we're fine. It took a few shingles off the roof. And it's like, Jesus Christ.
Oh my God.
Because he had no reception in his basement. So he couldn't like send me messages or anything.
Yeah.
No Wi-Fi? Jeez.
This was before my dad was online at all. Now he would be on some other messaging service. Like
I'm sorry that your dad is now extremely online.
Yep, he's relatively on. Are we streaming yet?
Oh, we've been streaming for a while.
Okay. He's relatively online. He sent me a YouTube message the other day.
What?
Whoa.
I didn't know that was a thing, so he's more online than me.
Why?
I got a YouTube friend request from him and I was like, what is this?
That's amazing.
He sent me a Matchbox 20 video that I'm somewhat fond of.
Okay.
Fiona and I share stuff on YouTube a lot because it's really easy to just in the app when you click share, pops up a picture of the person.
Sure.
I'm like, yeah,
I'm not picking on him. It was. I mean, I like that video and that song.
Okay.
All right, let's do this shit, I guess. Also, hi Sam. It's been a while.
Yeah, hey Sam. Also, hey Andre. It's also been a while since I've seen you too.
Yeah, it'll be not so long until we see each other in person.
Yeah.
Again.
Hey.
Yeah, again. Let's see. Okay. Hopefully. What the hell? Okay. Hopefully my computer doesn't restart because it wants to do an update. But
I did that last night.
That would be really funny if it just did it in the middle of like a sentence.
Yeah, I mean, it totally would. That's just how the internet goes, Windows goes, but it doesn't, it's not giving me like the, hey, you need to update right now. It's just like, hey, there's an update ready. You should restart. So at least they've improved that bit.
Oh, I've just discovered an injustice that I can talk about.
Oh, Injustice 2?
Justice 2?
Injustice 2?
I like tack on Injustice 1. Like
it'll tack on to my other the other bonker story I need to tell.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Looking forward to it.
Hello and welcome to Gaming Fix episode 78 on this July 13th, 2019 Saturday. I am your host, Andre Cole. I am joined today by Alex Jelena.
Hi. I also cannot be docked.
I don't think any of those were right, too.
No, the last one was pretty much there. So
Erica Hernandez.
Hello. You said that right.
Same.
Just waiting for you to try and pronounce my surname.
Yeah, I can't remember what it is right now, man. I'm sorry.
Harrison.
Oh yeah,
Harry San.
yeah. It's actually Harrison, like the curry paste.
Hell yeah.
Oh, okay. Sam
Like
Harrison
Ford.
and Pat Coder.
I'm worried that wiki title singable to TMNT theme song is running out of material, because the one I'm looking at right now from 2 minutes ago is Fire Over England novel. So if they're dipping
England novel,
I mean, it fits for sure, but if they're dipping into like they have to go to the like disambiguations to put in prints, I don't know.
it's probably a bot that's pulling that stuff in.
Well, yeah, of course it is.
Like, I mean,
Look, trust me, I want to live in the fantasy world where someone 2 minutes ago and 1 hour ago found these titles.
You know, in the world where Twitter realizes that its users generate the content and make it the money that it so rightly deserves, then someone could get paid for making those good tweets. And I don't know, maybe Twitter wouldn't be so bad, but here we are. Twitter is bad.
I think it would still be just as bad, but some good people would be getting paid and some bad people would be getting paid.
That's very true.
Probably more bad.
Paid. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, probably more bad people would get paid.
Maybe.
See, bad people Twitter is pretty fucking popular. I avoid it, but there's a lot of people there. Once in a while, someone retweets something instead of like screenshotting it, and I see that it has like 2.8 million likes, and I'm like, whoa.
Well, we're here to talk about all the hottest tweets on this tweet fix.
I can do that.
Alex, what's your hottest tweet?
Oh man. What's a tweet?
This is a really easy answer.
You know what? That's a real good question that I think we need to get into. What is a tweet?
The hottest tweet is that dad with his baby sitting on the couch watching the TV.
Oh my
and
god,
having a conversation.
it's so cute.
That's one of the best pieces of content ever put on the internet by any person.
It's so good.
Or robot.
Okay. There they have it. Dad on couch with baby.
I'll find
Hottest
it. I'll
tweet.
link it to people. It's the best. It's the best tweet.
I did see one that was extraordinarily adorable yesterday. I don't remember what it was though. I'll have to take a mulligan on this one later.
Okay. Erica, what's your hottest tweet?
Like
Okay.
Oh, lost her.
No, we lost you for a second.
Muted. Now she's muted. Oh god.
No, you're muted. Your software muted. It's
I've
in the-
unmuted myself.
There you go.
Okay,
There you
sorry. I said, what's define hottest tweet? Like, what's?
Hey, no. You give me your hot. You define
like-
the hottest tweet.
Is it my most liked tweet? Is it?
You
currently
define the
in
hottest tweet.
Like,
The hottest tweet that I'm talking about.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm not. It's not one of my tweets that I'm talking. I'm just talking about what I think is the hottest tweet.
the hottest tweet on Twitter.
The one I'm linking is not the original tweet. It's the original video. So take that with a grain of salt. The original tweet has way more retweets and likes than what this facsimile has. Though the person who tweeted it's all right.
There are lots of good tweets, but what's the hottest tweet?
All right, this is not the hottest tweet, but this has been my hottest Twitter lately. Twitter account is Shibuya Meltdown. Are you all familiar? Because it's great. It's all like pictures of like drunk salarymen like asleep in the subway, or like just all kinds of like just people just like asleep, or random piles of vomit and like
God.
No, I'm looking at a dude who has fallen into what appears to be a restaurant that has like a bunch of like produce and wine in front of it, and he's just fallen completely over into it. Like, I don't know why, but I love this account so much.
All right.
Dark Souls Toilets is pretty good too.
Isn't it toilets with threatening auras?
That's a different account.
Oh. Okay.
There's also a Final Fantasy XIV toilets.
What? Okay. Sam,
I believe they're all run by the same person, though.
Sam, give me your coldest tweet.
Oh, I just looked at my best tweet in the last 3 months using Google Analytics.
Okay.
Sorry, Twitter Analytics.
Fuck off.
This is the coldest tweet.
My number one tweet is to Callie Plaggy. Big congrats to you for getting what I can only assume is the first instance of huge badonkers on GameSpot.com.
Oh, because she wrote about the bra thing and the cup size from E3 and whose boobs got shrunk? Tifa. They said, yeah. Okay. They didn't.
That's not how it works.
That was
That's why the article had to be written.
Quote unquote controversy. That was what it was.
I'm looking at a very good tweet right now of a kid who showed up at VidCon dressed as a influencer apology video.
Oh, that one was good.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yep. All
really
right.
good.
Did you see the dance battle between 10-year-olds?
No, but I'm here for
God,
it.
why am I open?
It's not good.
Terrible podcast.
It's not a good. It's not cute. It's like these 10-year-olds have large communities on TikTok that follow them, and they're circled around them at this convention doing a dance battle.
All right.
Oh, that's weird.
We're going to move on. We've covered all the hottest tweets that you need to know about the first half of 2019. We will be back in 6 months to discuss the rest in our tweet of the year extravaganza.
I think we should just change the premise of the podcast.
This year's Twitter and this week's Twitter in review.
All Twitter in review. There's a lot of Twitter.
There is.
There's a lot of Twitter.
But we're a video game podcast. Video games are sometimes on Twitter.
Yeah, we're going to talk about exclusively video games today.
Yep, only video games.
Alex,
Hey,
you have video games.
I do.
I can trust you.
Do you
I
want?
only brought video games.
Do you
Alex did
want-
not only bring video games.
It's true. I brought things
Haters.
that are also not video games, but
I left it open for you to either betray me or straight
no,
out.
I think we should tag team on one because there's one that we've both played at least a little bit of,
Yeah. Okay.
and that is based on an anime, of course.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit last week, or at least about the anime a little bit. I mentioned the game, Kill la Kill If.
Yep, the newest from Arc System Works.
Yeah. Is it actually
I don't
just
think-
from Arc, or is it like they
No, there's also that
produced it?
+1 or whatever.
Okay. Because it doesn't and it's a 3D arena fighter that is based on the hit anime from 2014, Kill la Kill, which is about a school where clothes give people superpowers, and some of those clothes are very revealing. It's a lot of fan service. But I don't know. The game's all right.
I think I feel much better about it than you do then, because I thought the game was pretty excellent.
So what have you played?
So
Okay,
I went through. I've been going through the demo and kind of doing some.
I don't know what's in it.
So the demo basically, I think it's like the first 20 minutes of the story or something. So it's basically like the tutorial section. So you kind of get an introduction. If you have not seen the show, maybe don't start with this game because it starts you like the starting point of the game is about where like episode 8 or 9 is in the show. And it just starts there. It doesn't give any context for what comes before. It just, so it's just that. And then it's kind of like a truncated version of that story. Like they just kind of jump through plot points really quickly. And then some stuff is different. Like they introduce a couple characters like in that intro sequence that definitely weren't there until later.
I would say if you have not watched the anime, this game is not for you.
Probably pretty easy
I
to
don't
say.
see why you would come to it. Is there any like, have you done any like multiplayer like battle stuff?
Yeah.
Or like,
I've
okay.
played with all of the available characters for the demo, which is
And who is that?
it's 4 of them, which is basically half of the roster, which is I think my one my one worry about this game is that it doesn't have that many characters.
Yeah, there are very few, and there are a decent, like it's a 26 episode anime, so there's not like a ton of people, but I feel like they left a lot on the table for who you could play as. Like you could play as like Mako.
Well, that's DLC.
Yeah, of course. Is that actually?
Yes, it's going to be DLC in like a month or two. Oh my
god! What? Like, come on.
What else are they going to put in?
Less clothes.
I have a feeling
they have. I think one of the other DLCs was a DTR, which is weird because you told me that they don't have the nudists.
I mean, if they put one in, but they're not in the story.
Okay.
Well, I can't say that. Bleep that.
I think that is what you're saying is that if only this game had a uncensored patch, then you might like it more.
No, it's not. It's not censored.
It is on the exact same.
That was a joke. I was trying to make a joke about how.
No, that was actually a big controversy around this game. Is that people were worried that it was going to be censored between Japan and North America. And they actually had to come out and say no copy of this game is going to be censored.
Yeah, so. Like there's nothing even worth censoring, really. I mean, like they are not as ridiculous with the visuals as the anime is, but I think like compared, like they do a pretty good job of transferring the anime to they do a good job of transferring the anime visuals to like the 3D brawler style.
And I know the anime, I mean, I haven't seen it, and I know that its premise is that fan service is like at the core of it and stuff, but it is still like a mainstream anime. So I would assume that you could put that in a game and it wouldn't actually be that like scandalous.
It's rated M.
Right.
I think the thing is they're like high school kids. So
don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that like well, it was a mainstream anime, so it's totally fine. But also like I don't think it there is a gulf between the kind of game that I was making fun of and
anime,
for sure.
Yeah. It's a video game. If you have no affinity for Kill la Kill, I don't know that you're going to find much here to latch onto.
I think I feel way better about this game than you do, because I think it's really fucking good. I think in terms of like arena battlers that I've played, and especially like Arc System style games, like I played some Fighter Z and I liked it, but I think that this game, in terms of arena fighters, is probably one of the best feeling that I've had. Like it feels like the movement is really good. It feels like every character is distinct, even though you're using similar.
They did a good job of making every character like feel very different, which that's important when you only have like 8 characters.
Yeah, and like if you go into the move list, it gets pretty crazy nuanced. Like you can do some really nutso stuff. Like I did a thing with you asked which characters are in it. There's Ryuko, there's Satsuki, there's Gamagori, and Sanagayama.
Okay.
So those 4. And I played all 4 of them just in kind of versus the not top level bot computer difficulty, like the one right below that, because the top levels it can possible for me. Regardless, like it just every one of them felt different. Like the way that you use different mechanics, like Gamagori, he gets more powerful the more damage he takes, like that kind of stuff. Like Ryuko, you can switch modes, like depending on how you use the blade and stuff like that. Like they all feel super different, and it all moves really quickly, but it's also very approachable. Like one of my problems with fighting games I find is that, I don't know, maybe I'm old and my reaction time is not like, I can't watch something and get like 3 frames of the animation and immediately block. Like that was one of my problems with playing Mortal Kombat on the harder difficulties, was like, and especially going through their tutorial mode where they're like, okay, you need to block this. And it's like, yeah, you get 3 frames. And it's like, okay, how am I supposed to block that? Like you're trying to block up and low. And I'm like, well, fuck, I don't know. But this game, like it felt, despite its really fast pace and kind of chaotic nature, it felt like it gave you just like more of a window to actually play with and gave you more options to counter with.
I would say like one of the things for me is like the specials. There are like each character has like 3, and then like when you can do like a weird like rock paper scissors mechanic, and if you win that mechanic, you get like a power up, and you can do that 3 times. And then you get like you can do like your final finisher or whatever. But like I don't know. I wish there were more variety in the moves, because you basically just see the same animation over and over if you ever do those. So
if you're talking about like the L plus like triangle or square,
L,
whatever,
L1
like,
and like square, triangle, and circle, you can do those.
You do see those, and there's ways to alter them, which I thought were kind of neat. But yeah, and like another thing I thought was cool, though also a spoiler for the anime, is when you're fighting the like that like you versus 100 what are they called, the
covers,
yeah, which is like the last 5 episodes of that show.
Yeah.
But like it's interesting that they kind of have a mode that's like Dynasty Warriors-esque, in that you're fighting like 100 dudes at once in an arena fighter. That felt kind of neat.
It's I don't know. I haven't played any other of like the anime arena fighters really, except for like like the Naruto Ninja Storm games, which are similar, and like I don't know, I enjoyed those enough when I played them. But
yeah, like I like Dissidia, like back in the day.
I did not think that most recent Dissidia was any good.
Yeah, and like I thought My Hero Academia's fighting game was fucking terrible, so that's why like I went into this with kind of really low expectations. But I would say that this pretty much like the expectations now are set pretty high, because I thought it's actually real fun. And I'm looking forward to playing the story mode, because I think the treatment that they gave the cutscenes like actually look really good. Like there's some scenes that are emulating parts of the show, and I'm like, that looks pretty much 1-to-1 from the show, but like they're also moving the camera around, so they're not just like pumping in video. Yeah,
it's like less, like probably fewer frames, because they do a lot of just like, hands here, hands here, hands here, hands here. But and like, they do that in the show too a little bit, especially with like Mako.
Yeah. And like,
but I think like the visuals, they actually did a pretty good job, and like
and the soundtrack is a banger, because I mean that show has a fucking amazing soundtrack.
And it's all the original voice cast and whatnot.
Yeah, for both English and Japanese actually. So if you watch the English dub, it's the exact same people. Yeah. I'm looking forward to playing the actual game. I'm hesitant on paying full $60 for it, because it seems like the story mode is
where
like,
it falls apart for me.
Yeah, because like the story mode is like 4 or 5 hours, which and it seems like the multiplayer is good, but again, it's only 8 characters at launch. So I don't know. I'm hoping they go Fighter Z with it and just ram it full of characters over time, but at launch, I don't know. It seems a little thin, but it also seems really good. So I don't know.
Okay, well, what else have you been playing or watching or whatever?
Well, let's talk about video games. Let's talk about what should be the best video game, but it is not.
Dr. Mario.
So have y'all played like original Dr. Mario?
No.
Of course.
No.
Eric, no? Wow.
What?
Jeez.
No.
That man is a plumber. He is not a doctor.
Yeah.
Not trust him.
Like I know about it, but I've never played it.
Yeah, and we don't have Sam here, so I don't know. I don't know if he's played it. I assume he has.
He's got a mustache. Mario has a mustache. He must have.
It's good. It's not as good as Tetris. It's
no,
good.
it is not as good as Tetris, but it's also kind of, I see it different than Tetris, kind of like,
it is.
Like Puyo Puyo is like similar to Tetris, but it's not Tetris. Like I kind of see it more like Puyo Puyo than Tetris.
I think the reason I say Tetris is not because I think they're overly similar. It's more just I am very much I don't need another game that does the same similar things to my brain, because Tetris is good enough. So that's kind of why I never became like a huge Dr. Mario fan or a huge Puyo Puyo fan. I think they're both good, but I just like Tetris more, and it's similar neurons, even if they're different games.
Yeah, I see that. But So I also kind of felt pretty strong. Like, I enjoyed Dr. Mario back in the day. The music is fucking rad. Like,
Yes.
it's super good. I think it's probably the best Mario music that there is.
I don't know if I go that far, but it's good. It's very, very good.
I would say it's top 5.
Yes.
Anyways,
Sure. Yeah. Top 5. Yeah.
So this does not feel like Dr. Mario, which is the biggest problem. Because one of the parts of Dr. Mario that I really enjoyed was like, kind of like when you get into Tetris, you have a time constraint, right? Like your Tetris speeds up and you have to actually actively think about what you're doing. And you have to do it while your piece is moving around the board. And the more you mung up the board, then like the less options you have for yourself, and you're only just screwing yourself.
Right.
Original Dr. Mario has that same feel. Mm-hmm. This Dr. Mario does not have that feel at all. And it's really frustrating because, for one, there's no time limit. And you set your own pace. Like, you're basically, rather than it being Tetris style where it's dropping down blocks from the top and then, going downwards with a certain momentum, this one, you start from the bottom, you're showing your piece at the bottom, and then you drag it to where you want it. You can twist it around as you're doing it. You can do whatever. You can just drag it where you want it. And there's no time constraint. It's just you figuring it out. That's it. The only constraint they put on you is that as you drag it up, you can no longer drag it down. So if you're like, oh, I made a mistake, you can't pull it back down. That's fine. When you release your finger, it will go, but its speed is glacial. Like, it's fucking just the worst. So you can't like set up 3 things and be like, oh yeah, this is going to be great. But so, because it's just so slow, which just feels like garbage. And speaking of slow, unrelated to the gameplay, mobile games, the biggest appeal for them, in my opinion, is that you can get into a level really quick. And then, like, if it's a level that's going to take you, like, think Tents and Trees. It'll take you, a second to load into that? And let's say you're on one of the easy ones, it'll take you 20 seconds to finish it. Mm-hmm. That's a great ratio. 1 second to 20 seconds of gameplay. This, it takes about 5 to 7 seconds of load. Then it gives you a 3-second countdown for like a 10 to 15 second level. And then it takes another 5 or 10 seconds to get back to the menu. So like that ratio is like 30 to 40 seconds for 10 seconds of gameplay.
And that's why we need SSDs in the new consoles.
Yeah, but like, I don't know, maybe that's overly critical, but like when you're trying to do like 10 levels in a row and it feels like most of your time is spent waiting for loads, like that feels pretty lame, especially because the game, like, and it has a bunch of free-to-play hooks in it, like kind of old free-to-play hooks, like original Candy Crush kind of shit, where you're going through a map like in a linear fashion where if for some reason you fail, you lose a heart or you lose energy or you spend a heart to do certain levels, and that's a finite resource. So the thing is, Candy Crush is a good game. Like, the thing about free-to-play games that have that kind of mechanic is that generally they're fun enough that you want to do that. Like you're like, oh, I actually want to put in money because I enjoy playing this game and I want to play more of it. The problem with Dr. Mario is it's not fun. So I don't see any reason why you would want to put money into it or spend time with it,
Because you love Mario.
Yeah, like, eventually you unlock more characters and they have different power-ups. But
is Yoshi a doctor?
No. And
okay,
he should never be a doctor. Koopa, whatever his name is, Koopasaurus.
Koopasaurus is it Koopasaurus Munchakoopas? No. Yoshisaurus Munchakoopas.
Whatever his name is, he should not be a doctor. He's a fucking back alley doctor at best. But yeah, it's just, you play as Bowser or Peach or Mario, and they all have power-ups that are like, you can clear 2 lines vertically. You can clear 2 lines horizontally. You can clear 2 lines at random. And it's like, okay. Actually, in more cases than not, that ends up fucking you up, because the whole point of Dr. Mario is lining things up. So if suddenly the random one splits you up in a way that now you have to do like 3 extra moves to join things together, well, you just kind of screwed yourself. Yeah, it's bad. Dr. Mario is not worth your time. I played about 25 levels of it, and I deleted it immediately. I think it's just garbage.
I trusted your review and have not installed it and don't plan to.
Yeah, Nintendo continues their streak of making real bad mobile games, and
I enjoyed Fire Emblem for the little bit I played it.
I enjoyed Fire Emblem until the gacha mechanics became a problem.
And also, it's just Fire Emblem. Like, not just as in that's not good enough.
It's just on a very small scale, but yeah.
Yeah. So, but there's like a billion Fire Emblem games, and they're like mostly handheld. So,
but
I never
carry like a Game Boy or like a
do you not already carry something like that with you?
No.
Oh yeah. So I just have a bag that I have a Switch in like most of the time.
I am never in a situation where I can pull out my Switch really. So
I guess that's fair then. Yeah, Fire Emblem.
Also,
great.
no Fire Emblem on the Switch currently. So
okay.
Not for like a week.
You understand my point though. Like it never made sense to me to play a Fire Emblem game on a phone because I've never been in a situation where I couldn't open a DS for 10 minutes, but I could pull out a phone for 10 minutes, you know?
I'm with Andre. Like, I very, very, very rarely carry any other thing but my phone.
Also, I am never going to be in a situation where I'm going to want to pull out my Switch for 10 minutes because
Switch is a bad example. I shouldn't have used that one because that's too big of a thing to pull out for that, like standing in line or whatever. But I don't know. I guess I'm probably in the minority, but I guess I just felt like, why would I pay lots of money to play a gacha version of Fire Emblem when I could, with the same form factor,
pay zero money.
Pay money to buy the game, but I
$20 zero money to play Fire Emblem on the phone.
But, yeah, but then it's not as good. I don't know.
It's missing the story. It's missing the part
of tactical stuff.
Yeah,
like it was a good approximation of that stuff, even if it was on like a small scale, like the rock paper scissors. Like
it was a good approximation of the gameplay, but it had no story.
It had the small stories and like the levels and stuff.
Yeah, chapters. But they weren't.
I remember there being a story.
Yeah, but it wasn't nearly as interesting as like an actual.
I mean, of course not. It was a free mobile game, but like
you could.
Who's that? Who's that? Who downloaded Dr. Mario? Who committed this fucking sin? Oh God, Sam, you're gonna
just open it. I was like, have I opened this yet?
Yeah, the music is fine.
The music was pretty good.
That's the best part of it.
Yeah, I'm just saying, when I played that Fire Emblem game back when it came out, I was like, oh, this is all right.
I will say that while I never really got it with Fire Emblem, when Mario Run came out, there was about an hour period. I bought it. There was like an hour period where I was like, hey, this isn't as bad as it could be. And then it got extremely boring. But I kind of hear what you're saying in that, like, I think part of what it is this is not what you're saying about Fire Emblem, but I think part of what it is that Nintendo is very good at like making things that look really appealing. So it's like every time, that's why they get me every time with like these mobile games, is it's like, oh, I'll install it and start it. And then the first 10 minutes, I'm always like, well, this is really nice. This looks great. And it's characters I like, and it's an art style I like, and the menus look nice. And then
I would agree.
You play it for an hour and it's like, oh, never mind.
Yeah,
literally every phone game.
Yeah, I just wish they would make.
I don't agree.
I wish they would make.
I've been playing Hold Down for weeks.
Yeah, Hold Down's great. Hold Down doesn't have enough to keep me engaged for weeks, but I played it for a week and it was good.
Yeah, when it comes to Nintendo phone games, I just wish they would make one that's really, really good. Like I've tried all of them, including Miitomo. And
I mean, you can hold out hope for what's that one? It's Mario Kart 1 World Tour.
Mario Kart seems like the worst thing they could put on a phone.
It kind of does.
Pokemon Go is not a Nintendo game, Sam.
I don't think he was saying
I'm just saying those are the good games I have installed.
Oh. Yeah. Pokemon Go is not a good game.
I think are good that I have, apart from
fine.
One of those literally has really bad right in the name.
Yeah, but it's probably the best one.
Yeah. I don't know. There are good phone games. There are good phone games. I don't think Nintendo has yet made one.
No.
And I hope they do.
Agree.
Because there's so much potential. What is the good one?
I really like Fire Emblem Heroes. I played it for months.
Oh, I didn't like
maybe
it at all.
6 months.
I think part of my frustration too about Fire Emblem Heroes was it was perhaps the best example prior to Dr. Mario, at least, of a game where they could have just cut the bullshit and like charged a flat fee for it, and you could have had a Fire Emblem game, or they could have monetized it in such a way where it's like it's $10 and then every month we're going to release a $5 character pack or something.
Oh.
They could have monetized it in a way that is like friendlier than what they did. I don't know that would have been the way that's friendlier. I'm just spitballing. I can do a PowerPoint for you if you want.
You and your trading card game shenanigans.
Or they charge $40 if in one go. That just wouldn't work on a mobile marketplace.
No,
But-
I'm just it's
Hey, Squeenix tried.
you can just play it. You can play it for free, and then you can go, oh, I wish I had a new character. Oh well, just keep playing for free.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
I don't find that satisfying
Me neither.
at all. So
See, that's-
I would have loved to have paid $20 for that Fire Emblem game and had a shorter, less narrative focused, but still like complete game.
I agree.
And that would have made me feel a lot better about it.
I mean, to talk about another video game style, that's why I played Dota over League, because I have no interest in purchasing characters. Like, I had no
That's
interest
fair.
in grinding out characters. It was just nicer to have a complete game where everyone's on the same field.
Yeah.
Like,
I think everything else about League is better than Dota.
I don't well, that's where you're wrong.
I'm not going to get into it, but
Yeah, no, we don't have to go. We could have that conversation in about a month and a half.
Yeah.
The I don't even mind the buying characters thing. It's the way that it's done in gacha games in
Yes.
particular. Because like, I mean, I'm the trading card game guy, right? Like, I don't mind buying lots of blind packs, but there's something about the way that it is structured in gacha games that it feels so much worse to me. Like, you buy a $2 pack of Magic cards and you get like 12 cards versus like $1 on a character thing, and it's like one character pops out, and I don't even think they were $1 each. I think it was more like $2 or $3 each.
I don't know. Like, the value on that stuff is just not.
Yeah, and I'm not even
good.
I'm
Like,
not
on
even
any-
condemning
any
just
gacha
Fire
game.
Emblem here.
Yeah, no,
any gacha
game
Ugh.
stuff on like the polls is absolutely terrible.
yes.
Best.
I really
value,
like- I really liked that Marvel fighting game that Kaboom did, Contest of Champions. It's fun as far as like fighting games on mobile goes, and it was fun to see the different costumes and see the characters interact, but it was so fucking expensive to do more than just like grind up free currency. And then for the free currency you would get like, oh, you've gotten a third Nick Fury,
Mhm.
put the Nick Furies together, and now Nick Fury's bigger, his numbers are bigger, he doesn't look any different, his numbers are bigger.
bigger Nick Fury.
And then it's like, oh, cool. They have like 2099 Spider-Man. That's cool. Oh, he's $20 to purchase right now.
Big Nick.
It's like,
Yeah. It's
to-
video games.
so on
Yeah.
my screen, Erica and Sam switched places, and it
Yeah.
made me extremely confused.
Erica's
Yeah,
gone.
that she
I'm
turned
here,
off the
I'm
camera
She's
for a
back.
second.
She's back. Okay.
So I have one more game we can talk about, and I think that's one that a bunch of us can talk about, and we've been talking about for weeks, which is that I have finished the story mode of one Super Mario Maker the second.
Hey, I did that too.
Did you like 100%? Did you finish like everything?
No,
'Cause, like,
I
even
still
after
have
100%. There's like other things you can do.
Yeah, I do still have a couple things I could do. There's a couple of the dog levels that I have not yet finished. But for all intents and purposes, I have finished the castle, and I think the single player mode of that game is real good, and I'm looking forward to getting more into building because they leave you in a place that is like they do some real creative shit. And they leave you going like, oh, you could do this, or you could make something better. And I'm like, I could make something like this.
You should unlock the two things that you can get in the story mode for building. I don't think either of them are particularly good, but it's worth having it all.
Okay. Yeah. I will.
There. What? Oh,
It takes like 10
play
minutes.
my
to
level.
explore
You should play
courses.
my level. That's what you should do.
You should not play Andre's level.
It's
Andre should be in
good.
jail. Andre campaigned
No
so
one has
long.
beaten my level.
for a certain enigmatic game maker to go to jail based on the way that their game controlled last year. And
Yeah.
he created the most hellish nightmare level that is not fun to play. It controls bad. How you could make a Mario thing
That's not my fault.
I will.
your fault because I've not played another level that controls bad.
I will say I have not been in love with the feel of New Super Mario Bros. It feels real floaty in a way that like
I've been saying that for like 12 years now.
yeah, but like the way like whenever you're Cat Mario, it just feels like you're just like sliding around everything, even when it's not ice
Oh, you
levels.
mean Super Mario 3D World? That
yes,
one.
sorry, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Like I think
I don't
that
particularly
one
like that
Yeah.
or New Super Mario Brothers. I like I make my levels in like Mario 3 or Super Mario.
Yeah. Anyways,
Andre's level is a crime.
but
You should play my level. I made my level to spark joy and give people a fun time.
but yeah, no, we don't have to talk about it for long. But Erica and Sam, I know you guys haven't been on here a while. Have you guys been playing Mario Maker?
No, I haven't bought it yet. Just
I don't like 2D Mario.
You should not buy Mario Maker.
No, you probably shouldn't.
I don't like Mario that much either, and I like Mario Maker. I was playing the Grand Pooh Bear. He makes he's made a bunch of Mario stuff.
He's Kaizo.
He's made some really good
so he's made like some how-to Kaizo levels that like
cool.
Which is
then he
awesome.
made like YouTube like they're called like Tech Talk. If you search Grand Pooh Bear on YouTube Tech Talk,
Great.
he like walks you through the levels and like, okay, here's how you do this stuff. Like here's how it's different from the first one. So the first one he did was like shell jumps, and I was trying that this morning, and I just could like the first jump I could not figure out. Like I could like, and he's got like stuff in the level. It's like, okay, you got to throw the shell this way, and he uses like the track to like, okay, it's like throw it facing this way, and then he uses the dotted line block to be like, okay, you should be here when you throw it.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Because like a part of one of the reasons I've always had a hard time, the only 2D platformers that I like are Mario games. I don't like any other platformers. And part of that is because of the shift, and we've talked about it in the past, the shift to kind of masocore platforming as sort of the norm with modern 2D platformers. Not that more classic ones don't exist, but generally it's about really hard ones, which makes sense because people who grew up playing Mario got older and better at games and want something more challenging. For me, Mario can be very challenging. So one of the things that I found off-putting about a lot of 2D platformers and games like Celeste have gotten away from this some, but it still doesn't feel quite there to me in terms of like the way people talk about it in the community. Is it seems very much like you do the thing, and if you can't do the thing, fuck you, play something else.
Yeah,
and
like your Super Meat Boys, your Ori and the Blind Forest, stuff like that. Yeah.
And so it's really cool that someone who's really into making, Kaizo levels that are kind of more in that masocore direction with Mario is designing courses to teach you how to get better at those mechanics, because that's something that, from my perspective, that's been one of the things that's very off-putting about playing games like Super Meat Boy, is I don't feel like they do that much. And when you try to talk to people, not in this group, but when you try to talk to people about them, those communities seem fairly closed to anyone who wants to learn about platforming, and it's more like you should already know how to do this stuff. So
hashtag get good.
Cool.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. It's people who have grown up with it. So to them, it's like, what do you mean you don't know how to do this particular kind of jump or whatever? So it's neat. And Pooh Bear's really a great. He's a great person.
He's also a great personality. If you guys haven't watched any videos from SGDQ, two worth watching are Grand Pooh World 2, which is a Kaizo game, and Invictus, which is also a Kaizo game, and Pooh and Tofu and a couple of other people are involved with it, and they're very much for like you said, kind of education. They're not for like, oh, you're bad, get better. They're more like, this is a hard scene to get into, and these are the ways you can actually get into it, which is really refreshing.
I will say that even with like the video alongside like the level, like watching the video then doing what he says, it still took me like 50 minutes to beat his like mid-air spring jump level.
Yeah,
sure,
totally.
It's not if it's hard. I just like the inclusive nature of it being very hard.
And like there are checkpoints like at various points. But
I think it's also kind of neat that they do that, because it also gives you more context for what they're doing in things like SGDQ. And you're like, holy crap, they're actually pulling this stuff off, like especially in like the blind run ones where they're anyways,
Have you guys
hardcore
seen
Mario
any
stuff
of
is
that Chain Chomp Raiden stuff? The guy who's been trying to upload the same like
for like from
for
Mario
like
Maker
3 years.
1.
Yeah, for Mario Maker.
No,
1, and,
I
like,
haven't.
That's
like,
great.
show you.
Like, it's just
So
so
there's
hard
this-
that he can't upload it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but he's
wow.
been trying for years, and he keeps adding new stuff to it too.
That's great.
Himself, but it's really good. It's actually been really fun to watch here
That's
and
awesome. I haven't
One
seen it. That sounds great.
Patrick Klepek tries to report on it every 6 months. He's like, checks in, is like, how's it going?
Yeah.
there.
That's right. I remember that now.
So cool.
One thing I do want to mention about Mario Maker's kind of community in general, sort of on that note, on sort of a less positive note about it, that I have noticed is, so like I was doing there's a really good series, there's kind of some chaff in there, but there's a good series of like design ethos, like little video things in the menus that are like, they don't teach you how to build levels, but they teach you about like the concepts behind Mario level design. And it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And they really talk about the best ways to make fun Mario levels. And something that I do find a little bit frustrating is like I tried to do a normal Mario challenge, and like all it served me were the speedrun levels, which I do think are cool, but there's a lot of them.
Yep.
It's like speedrun levels, and then levels that were like, it was like a 20 minute feeling. Like it felt like it was going to take me 20 minutes to get through all the different bits, and there were no checkpoints anywhere. And so I feel like there is this sort of overwhelming thing it's probably not in the core community that came over from Mario Maker 1. It might be newer people. I don't know where it comes from, but to make like, oh, so what I'm supposed to do is make something that's really hard. And it's like, not hard does not equal good level design. And I find it kind of frustrating that most of what I have played is either very tight and fun, but very tight speedrun levels, or stuff that's designed to just be very hard with no checkpointing and no like tools to help.
So something that I've gotten, I mentioned this last week when I was talking to Alex, but something that I found is there's this person who makes like puzzle rooms, like one screen puzzles, and they're like, I haven't been able to beat any because they're real weird and hard, but like they're really fascinating to like go through and like play with. So like even if you can't do those, I'll try to send you like a link.
Yeah, I would love to see those. I think
they're really weird and interesting.
I think what I'm the realization that I'm having, and this isn't really a knock against, it's a weird thing, right? Like, because I made a level and I wanted to just make a level that wasn't very hard, but that was fun to play. And what I was kind of hoping I could get out of hitting like the normal, easy or normal endless challenge things was like, oh, just serve me like basically Mario levels until I'm done. Serve me like Super Mario Brothers style, Mario 3 style Mario levels that are fun to play. Maybe not as good as those, but like there's an endless amount of them, so I can just go through them. And instead, it seems like those are very hard to find. And the thing that is easy to find is like Kaizo levels and speedruns, and then like the weird puzzly stuff. And I think all that stuff is cool, but the game is not a toy box of a ton of like Mario-esque Mario levels. It's very much what people do with it is they take Mario tools and make something very different than what those games are. I kind of wish that there was a bigger group of people making stuff that was more like traditional Mario.
You know what would be nice is if they had a difficulty setting. Like if I could search for levels that are beginner, intermediate, advanced, and then like you could filter out
the endless challenge, huh?
And it doesn't work very well.
It's based on clear percentage.
rate.
It is clear percentage,
and clear rate is pretty low for all levels anyway, because
which is weird.
Yeah, well, I think it's just because people like they bop in for a second and then kind of judge it based on the opening stuff and then just leave if they don't think it's going to be good for what they're looking for. So I don't know. It's not really a disappointment with the game itself. More just I would love to find some I'm going to need to do some digging to find some creators who are making the kind of stuff that I really want to play, I think. I guess I'm a little bit disappointed in the tools that Nintendo has for surfacing that content.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was kind of my complaint from the start, was that they need to implement that Little Big Planet thing.
Totally, yeah.
Like,
Because I never had that problem with Little Big Planet. I played probably
Yeah.
100 hours of Little Big Planet,
Yeah.
and I always found stuff that I enjoyed.
Yeah, lbp.me was like the best thing.
Yep.
The whole website.
I feel like if you can't do it in the game, like even with Little Big Planet, like if you have to go outside the game to find stuff, and like having a tool outside, because when you're not at the game, like having a tool outside the game to be like, oh, I want these courses or whatever.
It was good in the game as well.
Yeah.
It was just Mario. It was good in the game, but it was also good outside the game. So you had options.
Yeah.
I guess that's more.
Yeah. And Mario needs to get the in-game stuff down before it. Yeah, and
Nintendo is not providing good in-game or out-of-game tools for finding levels
for anything. Yeah. It's not providing good in-game or out-of-game tools for anything they make.
Yeah,
except for building Mario levels, they provide good tools to do that.
It's all right.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty great.
I don't know. I think Mario Maker 2 is a really good game, and they could improve it.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. For sure. All right, we're gonna jump to Sam because he's been waiting patiently.
Hell yeah.
Sam, what do you got?
Video games.
Oh,
what? What's that?
I've been playing a game called Judgement. Our Japanese audience may know as Judge Eyes from Ryo Go Gatuka Studio, the guys who make Yakuza. It's a really good video game. So you play as Yagami, who is a private detective. He used to be a lawyer, and he basically had a bad turn as a lawyer, which I won't spoil for people, even though it's pretty early in the campaign. And then quits lawyering to become a down on his luck private detective who sleeps on a very small leather sofa in his very small office.
So that's the spoiler I didn't want.
It's really cool. I really like the story. The big problem that I had with Yakuza when everyone was like, everyone needs to play Yakuza 6, it's the greatest, was that there would be like a huge reveal that I wouldn't understand at all. Because I didn't know the characters or know other stuff. So that game kind of fell flat for me. I'm the kind of person who needs to know the backstory, and like if I feel like I don't have it, I lose all my interest in the game. So playing Judgment and being there from the start, it's basically like much more well-polished modern Shenmue. So I'm completely in as a Shenmue fanboy. Combat system's really good. Just seems like an evolution of Yakuza. It's got two styles. One style is multiple enemies, and then the other style is a single enemy. So you often, say for example, you're in a really big fight and you corner a boss. It's actually quite good for you to switch over to the single enemy style and take a lot of health off of him, and then switch back to the multiple enemy and kill the ads. So it adds a little bit of tactics, I think, that I didn't feel as much in Yakuza 6. The big thing I would say is that almost a lot of the animations are the same, and a lot of the like fighting moves and stuff are the same. So they've made some new stuff, but like
how many people can I drop kick at a time?
I don't think Yagami does much in the way of drop kicking.
Fuck, I think this game. I'm out.
He does, however, do a Run DMC versus Jason Nevins style spin around on his head. But when he does that spin, he grabs enemies with his legs and like spins around with like 4 dudes, 2 on each leg.
You mean like Raiden in Metal Gear Solid 4?
Yeah, but Yagami isn't a cyborg. He's just a guy in a cool leather jacket.
Hey, you don't know where this story is going to go.
So what I'm hearing is that this is like Too Human, but just not as cool.
I didn't know that the character in Two Human used to be a lawyer, but I understand.
Hey, it's sci-fi. Yeah.
It's sci-fi Norse mythology. Like I'm sure lawyers existed in there somewhere.
So I have a legit question. We could go the joke route, but I actually do have a legit question.
I care about this game. I'm interested in playing it. So.
I'm interested in it too. And like obviously one of the things that happened for the Japanese launch was when they removed Pierre, and they completely changed his character, which is what, Hamura or whatever. Have you noticed that like does his character look different than all the other characters? Is anything about it stilted, like, or does it feel like just a normal inclusion, like you wouldn't know if you weren't aware of the news around it?
So his character model looks exactly like the actor.
Wait,
yeah.
Are you playing it English or Japanese?
I'm playing in English.
Okay.
Oh.
So voice acting probably doesn't matter.
Yeah, probably doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because it looked like the character looked like the actor who got
talking.
removed. So they had to like patch in a new character. How does that character look?
Yeah.
In comparison to other characters?
Well, no, he looks exactly like the actor that was removed.
Really?
Like, yeah, I just googled Pierre Taki and he looks exactly like him.
Oh,
Interesting, because I heard that they had completely removed his model and switched it out for something new.
He looks. If they have removed his model, they have done a bad job.
Okay, that's interesting.
He looks a lot like him. The character that you don't. The thing is, the character you see a lot right at the beginning of the game, and then you don't see him for a while. Or you see very, very odd bits of him. So, honestly, if you told me that was a new character model, I would have had no idea, because he looks like one of the high quality character models. Like every Yakuza game, there's high quality characters and low quality characters.
Sure.
And you can tell how important they are to the story by how much attention has been paid and how many wrinkles they have. And Hamura, his character is like a very high quality model, like as high quality as the main character. So, yeah, he must be a useful character. Well, useful. Sorry, I'm getting loads of messaging notifications, and it's not from you guys, and I don't know where it's from.
Woo.
But,
does anyone have any other questions about Judgment?
Yeah, how long is it? Or like how long does it seem? Like is it kind of like Yakuza in that you could do a zillion side quests and it'll take you 4 billion hours, or is it pretty straightforward?
So I've done every side quest in the game so far that's been presented, and I've been hunting them out as well. I'm on chapter 7 out of 12, and I'm about 18 hours in. So
okay.
I'm actually intending to finish this weekend because it's supposed to be completable in 30 hours. I think that you could probably go further and further and further and do more and more. I have decided to just do the main story from here on out because I want to finish the game before Fire Emblem comes out in 2 weeks.
Sure.
So,
yeah. Has it had any ridiculous moments that made you pump your fist and say, fuck yeah, like Yakuza has?
Well, I did today meet the character Ass Ketchum.
Okay.
Say no more. Sold.
He's part of the perverted trio, and he likes to grab butts. But not only does he like to grab butts, he likes to then tell you exactly which sport you should play by the feel of your butt.
Oh, that's good.
That's pretty good.
That's sexual harassment.
It's very weird and funny.
Okay. Yes, you're not wrong, Andre, but I've played enough Yakuza, and I've only played 1.5 Yakuza games to know that sexual harassment is a pretty common occurrence in the world of Yakuza.
Yeah, Kamurocho is sexy.
Give me Mr. Libido or give me death.
Thankfully, it's never like it is always presented in such a way that it is not as unsettling as it could be. Put it that way.
I actually saw something about how they actually have a mission in there that kind of addresses like catcalling and like sexual harassment.
That's the other
cool.
thing is that typically there you can call, of course, if Ass Ketchum is grabbing men's butts, that is also sexual harassment. So I don't mean to like minimize that, but they generally what I have played have done a good job of trying to characterize women that in a lot of stories would probably just be viewed as like would be very objectified. So I think that those, from what I have played of those games, they're actually pretty good at that side of the coin. So it's not so much like, ha ha ha, laugh at this butt grabbing. It's like, there's that, but then there's also like, also learn about this hostess's like family history and how they got here and why you shouldn't just objectify these women. And that I think is super cool. So
I will say that the Ass Ketchum quest does end in a fairly homophobic note.
That is a problem that is unfortunately present.
It is from the villain of the quest, but still.
Yeah.
Well,
I guess we'll see.
I do want to get to that at some point.
Yeah, same.
People have been really ragging on the chase scenes and the tailing scenes, following scenes.
Those have been in previous games, kind of, and they're usually not good. They're never good in any game.
No, Sleeping Dogs also had that problem.
I would say is number one, you are a detective, like he would be following people. Like there's a lot of there's some cool bits where you have to like pick out stuff in the environment. So they're like you're looking for a man with a stubbly beard and round glasses. So you have to like look around the area for that person.
That's cool.
And in all of those sections, there's always a stray cat, and if you find it, you get extra XP.
Hell yeah!
Is Brittany Chan there?
Oh, if only.
I don't know.
Right. Okay.
You need to play more Yakuza games as well, Sam. You need to finish Judgment and then start with Yakuza 6.
Finish Yakuza 0, then Kiwami 2.
No, you should just play Yakuza 6
He's not going to play. He's not going to play 6 if he doesn't know everything. So
but 6 will make you go like, oh, I need to learn more about these Korean dudes. I need to learn more about this, and then you'll want to play the other ones.
He didn't want to finish 0. Like, there's no hope for him. He's just a tasteless like.
You're only interested if you can play as the cop. I get it.
Yep. Yeah, that's what
also,
it is.
He's definitely not a cop. He's extremely not a cop.
I was going to say, you said, well, he's a detective, so he'd be tailing people. And I was like, yeah, he's a detective, so he would be beating up swarms of thugs.
He's a private detective.
That's a distinction.
He's hard-boiled.
Yeah,
like
it's
Matt's
very,
Pain.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, like, the chase scenes are actually really fun. They're like,
yeah, he's a Pinkerton. This is Red Dead 3.
Much better.
Yeah. It's very the chase scenes are fun. They're like really short, quick time events, and there's usually some comedy involved. And then the tailing scenes I really like, because it actually feels like, unlike Assassin's Creed, where it's like you have to follow at this specific speed, but you walk faster than that speed. Like Yagami walks at the speed that you need to walk. And the only annoying thing is that when you're tailing someone, you could be like 2 blocks behind them and they'll turn around to look for you. It's like when you walk places, you don't stop every 100 meters. Turn around very slow.
So I don't know. Based on the video we're looking at right now, this looks a hell of a lot like an Assassin's Creed tailing sequence.
Like the majority of it is like, oh, we'll just have to quickly hide on the side here and all that sort of stuff.
Okay, so just I've got one last question about Judgment.
Cool.
Yeah.
Does Yagami at any point use a death note?
That's a spoiler, and you can't tell us that.
Is Ryuk there?
Currently, there have been 0 Death Note references. I assume that Yagami is a slightly more popular name in Japan than it is here, and which is why nobody has thought to say, whoa, you have the same name as this extremely popular anime franchise.
Imagine if you were playing like a video game here, like you're playing Control, and you meet a character named Chris, and someone's like, wow, you have the name of like several actors that are in Marvel superhero movies.
No, man.
Where's your shield, Cap?
You got the same name as that guy from Rush Hour.
Man, I've played Resident Evil.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're a little robot-y, Alex, just so you know.
Oh man. Now I'm just picturing Corbin Dallas instead of Chris Redfield in Resident Evil.
Hell yeah.
Not Corbin Dallas, Ruby Rod. Ruby Rod in place of Chris Redfield. Oh man, I want that game. Give it to me. Capcom.
Ruby Rodfield.
Capcom versus Fifth Element.
I'm very excited to play. I gotta find the time to do it. Excited to play that Resident Evil 2 remake because
it's good.
I'm very curious now. I didn't pay attention to it much because I knew I wanted to play it when we watched the Giant Bomb playthrough from Abby Russell of it. I mostly just paid attention to her reactions. I didn't pay attention to the dialogue. I know the story of RE2 through osmosis, but still, I wanted to kind of like not actually watch that much of it, just listen to her reactions.
I mean, you're mostly there for like the puzzles too, like the story is like interesting.
Yeah, of course. But mostly we're watching her play through Resident Evil 4, which is I'm paying a little more attention to that because while I haven't gotten as far as she has in that game, I have played a little more of that than any of the other ones. And Leon is such a dipshit.
In 4, yeah.
In my memory, I remembered him as being really cool. And then watching it now, such a loser.
It's so cool. What are you talking about?
Well, have you seen?
I don't give a damn.
Have you seen the end of Resident Evil 4 ever?
I actually have not.
Okay, there's a line that you're gonna love if you want to see him being a dipshit.
No, I'm enjoying it. I'm genuinely enjoying him being a dumbass.
Yeah, left hand comes off.
I'm not worried about spoilers for that stuff because like the stories are insane.
I love that game.
I do too.
No, it's great. I mean, it's great. When I played it a long time ago, and I was it got too hard for me actually because I was like 14 or 15 or something like that, and it was like,
Did you get to the Iron Maidens?
Those are your prime gaming years. What are you talking about? Too hard at 14 or that you're never going to be better at games than you were then.
It wasn't about Twitch speed. It was more. Peak. It was more about like survival horror was just a thing I couldn't wrap my head around.
Okay. But yeah, did you make it to the Iron Maidens? Because those are probably some of my favorite enemies in a video game.
I think I did, but I'm not positive. We'll see. I'm going to keep watching.
The regenerators?
Yeah, the dudes that like turn into Pinhead. Like I thought they were just
they're called regenerators.
Oh, is it? Sorry, which one was the Iron Maiden then?
I don't think there was an enemy called the Iron. Oh, no, that'd be the guy with the knight thing. Like they're blind.
Give me a second. Resident.
Anyway, we don't have to talk about Resident Evil 4 at length.
They only hear. Yeah.
Make sure that everybody keeps the like 30 hours in their Game of the Year schedule because Judgment's definitely going to be on my list.
It's very unlikely I will be able to play through it this year, but I will do my best.
There won't be 9 better games than this based on the release calendar. There is no chance.
Maybe I could see that. Based on how much I like Yakuza 6, like it was on my list, and then I played the end, and I was holy shit.
I'm looking forward to Necro Barista.
Like I'm definitely not going to say that what you just said, Sam, sounds ridiculous to me. I think that there will likely be 9 better games to my tastes this year, but certainly I think that more people should probably play Judgment because it sounds like something that will probably need to be
I've heard
addressed.
A lot of people talk about like comparing it to Phoenix Wright and like detective stuff. Is there like any like mechanical thing that ties into being a detective, or is it mostly just like the Yakuza gameplay with going around and doing side stories, or is there like putting together a case and presenting it kind of mechanic?
So you are looking for clues. So when I was talking about that first person stuff where you're looking for a guy with a beard, there's also scenes where you have to look and find clues in like crime scenes. As at least a couple of those per chapter usually. And you aren't a lawyer anymore, so you aren't in court. But you
Columbo, like one more thing.
There have been multiple court cases that you kind of semi get involved in. Also, there's a really shitty tabloid journalist who looks like Japanese Lin-Manuel Miranda, and I can't unsee it.
All right. Well, do you have any other games you wanted to talk about?
I will say I've played a little bit of Dota Underlords, and I really like it.
Cool.
I played like one game of auto chess when it came out on phones, and I went, and I uninstalled.
Dota Underlords is a lot better than that auto chess thing. I mean, it's not going to change.
I don't need that kind of game in my life.
Yeah.
But all right. Allison might be joining us. So Pat.
Yeah. So
Eorza.
I don't have
Horizon 14.
I don't have loads to talk about in the gameplay parts of Final Fantasy because I'm still playing through. I started over, which is like I will maybe play the new expansion next year. I'm not trying to like push really hard to get squeeze it in or anything. It's a great game. It's been a great game for a long time. It has, if you play with a controller, the combat feels a lot more like engaging, I guess, than just like a standard mash the number keys kind of game, even though that's technically what it is. And I will say that it is a little bit more strategic. You have fewer things you can do in 14 versus something like WoW. Mm-hmm. So it's more about it's not in WoW. There's like a rotation of abilities you should use, and then and it's buried under like 400 different abilities you could use. So and it's not like those abilities don't really add much. Whereas in 14, your rotation is actually pretty clear from the get-go, and it's more just like when you time different buffs and when you're timing different combo finishers and stuff. And it's engaging. Like the combat's fine. It's MMO-y, but really the story is really good and the world design is really good. So like seeing the exploration part of it is what's the most fun, I think. And some of the dungeons then also have some really good mechanics in them that are interesting to play through. And I'm saying this based on I played through most of the like base game story when the Realm Reborn relaunched like years and years ago. So the fact that the expansions are generally like get better and better all around, that's a pretty good endorsement, I think. But what I wanted to bring up with it is like, that said, I really like this game. It's a fantastic thing to put on while you are like watching a stream or listening to a podcast, because the dialogue is all in dialogue boxes and it's generally pretty easy to parse. It's very well written, like exceptionally well written, but very easy to like to read it without needing to like you can still have something on in the background. But I wanted to tell the saga of my playing it again and getting to the point where I was like starting it, because holy crap, all that aside, their infrastructure is so bad. They're holy crap. So the way the game is, so I had the thought, a friend of mine has been playing for a few months now, trying to get ready for Shadowbringers. He's someone that I've played game. I mean, it's one of my oldest friends. We've played games together forever. And he was like, well, I think you're going to want to play it at some point. And so, just so you know, I'm playing it again, blah, blah, blah. And at first, a few months ago, I was like, yeah, whatever. Someday I'll play it again, I'm sure. I didn't think it would be as soon as it is. But so he and a few other friends are on a specific server. And I was like, well, whatever, cool. I'm just going to start a new character there. I'll install it and maybe I'll play a little bit this week, but I'm not getting super into it again. So I installed it and was like, well, I'm going to just get it all downloaded. I'm not going to set up a subscription right now because I don't know that I'm going to play this week, but I'm going to get it downloaded. To download it, you can install the executable, but you can't like play it until the patcher downloads the full game. To do that, you have to log into the patcher. To do that, you need an account that has a current subscription. So right off the bat, you cannot download the like 30 gigabytes that you need to unless you're subscribed, which would really suck for someone who has slow internet. Cause that's like, that could be like a day or two of time of your sub time spent downloading. But whatever, I don't have slow internet. So for me, it was like a half hour or an hour or something like that. So I was like, fine, whatever. It's $15. It's not a huge deal. I'll just, set the subscription up. I know I'm going to play it in the next month. So I download it and then I log in to play. And then I see I get to the character creation screen and I see that there's 2 new races. There's the like bunny people and from Final Fantasy XII, which look ridiculous and dumb and fan servicey and but then there's these really cool cat dudes called Hrothgar that I was like, I gotta play a cat person. So I'm just gonna grab the expansion. It's $40. It's not like it's not quite like a $60 game. And I know I'm gonna want to play it eventually, and it comes bundled with the expansion that I didn't have. So it's like, okay, sure, I'll go buy it. I bought the game years ago. I don't even know where I got it. I might have even bought like a physical copy or something when Realm Reborn relaunched. So I don't have it on Steam. So I was like, oh, well, I'm sure that there's a way to buy it digitally through Square. And there is. They have there's a Square Enix shop.
But it's a separate thing from
the Square Enix shop is separate from your Square Enix online account, which is also separate from your Lodestone account, which is your Final Fantasy MMO account that is tied to FF11 and FF14. As far as I know, it's also a separate account that is nested under your top level Lodestone account that you log in for play online for FF11. But maybe they fixed that and unified it. I don't know. I think that's unlikely that they did, but whatever. So anyway, I couldn't remember any kind of login for my Square Enix store account. I tried to recover the password. I tried to make a new Square Enix store account and it said my email was in use. I tried to recover the password, didn't get anything after like 20 minutes. And then I saw that you could sign in through Steam, which I was like, oh, fuck, is this going to screw me up? But I tried it. And so I went through the purchase process. And you also like, if you click to buy in your Lodestone account, it shows you which expansions you have. If you click on a previous one and click buy, it takes you to the store. But you can't see the previous one. So unless you like are savvy enough to either assume or you Google whether the expansions are bundled together, there's no language anywhere that tells you, oh, hey, Stormblood comes with Shadowbringers. And so I bought it though, finally paid. And then it comes with a message that's like, thank you for your purchase. You will receive an email shortly. And I was like, what? So then another like 15 minutes goes by, at which point during which time I was like, did I buy something? And then I finally got an email that was like, thank you for your purchase confirmation. And that didn't have a key in it. And so it was like, click here to see your product details or something. So I clicked on that. And then it was a screen that said, do you wish to activate this Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers, which I clicked on that, and it was like, this will tie it to your account or whatever. And I was like, I thought I just bought it with an account. and then it says like reveal key after you click on that. So then you have to click again to get it to show the key, which you put into your Lodestone account to activate the purchase. It was like, it took me like a half hour. I could have like driven to GameStop and seen if they could have sold me a physical copy or printed a key on a receipt for me.
Someday Japan will figure out the internet.
So then from there, I log in and I'm like, okay, cool. But I can make the cat person now. It was all worth it because the cat people look fucking rad. And there's a lot of cool different parts you can put on them. And I spent like a half hour making a cool cat person.
Can you put a bell on them?
No, by cat people too. They're like big cat. They're like
Thundercats.
Yeah.
Oh.
They're not like they're not like
Can you get
small cats.
I made like a cat.
Snarf
I made a cat lady in like base Final Fantasy 14, and she's just like she's got cat ears and like a tail.
Right. So there's a race that's like cat ears and a tail that's like anime cat person, but this is like
this is like a Panthro.
It's kind of like what's his name, Kimari from FF10.
Oh yeah, Ronso.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, Ronso, please.
Yeah, okay.
That's kind of what people from Mount Gagazet.
That's they finally brought that race into a far better game in Final Fantasy XIV.
Oh,
cry, Kimari, cry.
I hate Final Fantasy X so much. Anyway, so like he's cool. I made him. At the very least, they do have a tool where you can save your created character's appearance data in the event that what happens to you is what happened to me, which is so Final Fantasy XIV is broken into data servers or data centers. And within each data center, there are between like 8 and 12 servers, world servers. So as long as you're on the same data center as your friends, you can do what's called World Visit, which has like a 4-page article about how it works, where you can go to different servers and play in groups and stuff. And then while you're there, you get a big thing over your head that shows everyone that that's not your home server and stuff. You can get locked out of your home server temporarily. You can't join guilds in anything but your home server. You can't join chat channels from anything from your home server. There's a bunch of other features you can't access from your home server, but you can play it. So anyway, I was on the correct data center, but when I went to make my character finally, I could not make him on the same world server as my friends because it's considered congested. So no new characters may be created. So I kind of like did some searching for it, and the Final Fantasy community at large is like, look, Square Enix has done you a great service in offering you a video game, and if you can't play with your friends now, maybe you should have bought it 4 years ago and started then, because then you could have been playing with your friends. So you know what? It's not Square Enix's job to present you with opportunities to play with your friends. You're just going to have to play by yourself because you're a loser. Like I saw all these forum posts.
Play by yourself, as they put in the thing where you can do raids with.
Only in the newest expansion, though. Yeah, so you'd have to play by yourself up to that point. But I just thought it was like there's all this like open hostility. People were like, "Yo, what the fuck? This is kind of messed up that I can't make a character on the server with my friends." And there were people's responses were like, "It is contingent on the community to assist Square Enix in balancing server populations." It's like, what is wrong with you? You pay for this.
Such a weird mode.
That's the same in every MMO. Like in WoW, you can't if a server is full, you can't create a character.
Well, now they've changed it, like with the sharding and whatnot. And
I mean, every other MMO has gotten around it.
The issue is just that there are so many people like playing right now. So like,
and also just that they haven't done anything to like they've implemented this world visit thing, which is a nightmare. They haven't really done anything to update their infrastructure at all. In terms of like how the worlds are structured
and whatnot. But I just mean like, the world's congested, and like part of that is so many people are probably playing now. So like when you go to do the thing, like, because it was right when the new expansion came out. So there's gonna be like a huge influx of people coming. So
I settled on
the response that people were giving is completely bonkers.
So I settled on the next day. That's kind of all I'm saying is that like, it's fine. The response of, unfortunately, this is just how it is, and it sucks. Like that's whatever. It was the like white knight marching to war to say that the new player was the problem, and that was in like 5 different forum threads and a Reddit thread. I was like, you guys suck.
You should have replied to it. Square Enix isn't going to fuck you, bro.
Exactly. And then, so the next day I decided, I was like, whatever, I'm going to make a character on the same data center, just a different world server. It's like $18 to transfer a character. If I really am serious about it and I want to keep playing this character with my friends, when it calms down, I can always transfer them. And I'll be paying more, but whatever, it is what it is. I want to play the game. And I know I'm not going to really play with them for another 100 hours anyway, because I'm going to be playing stuff they've already done. So at most, they may come do world visit with me to play in a group a bit. But anyway, so the next day I logged on and you couldn't create a character on any server. They were all congested.
Oh God. One of these days, Japan's gonna figure out the internet.
Created it the day before.
There was not a character. There was not an open server on 2 of the 3 data centers in North America.
It seems like Final Fantasy XIV got way more popular, like in the last like year or so, or especially with Shadowbringers. So like them not like adequately preparing is like only mildly surprising.
A half an hour later, I was able to create a character, so it did clear up. Dauntless had like tons of problems when it launched. Like, I just thought it was funny.
They're not Square, but
and that's kind of why I forgive them. And I don't mind queues. That's whatever. Like that's just how it goes. And I've hit a queue every time I've tried to log into 14. It's usually done in like 10 minutes at most. So that's fine. And Dauntless's queue stuff. But it was a funny journey. I also think it is an injustice that currently in Japan, there are 3 data centers. Each of them have 12 servers. It looks like 12, 13 servers a piece. North America only gets 8 servers per 3 data centers. Europe only has 2 data centers with 6 servers each.
Okay. Well,
this is wrong. It's a clear bias.
A lot of people live in Japan. A lot of people play Final Fantasy XIV.
I'm sure given that Japan has a fully congested, you can't make any characters on a data center right now.
Yeah.
That tells me when it's as late as it is there, that tells me that it's probably more popular there. But anyway, Final Fantasy XIV is great. Everyone should not everyone should play it. If you
I need to get back into it. I love that game.
If you want to play a very good 200-hour JRPG story,
I've got level 20 character, and I don't want to pay the subscription fee. That's the thing that's killing me. I don't want to pay for the game and pay a subscription fee. I wish it was one or the other.
So
I bopped out because at the time a $15 subscription fee was like I had like $20 to $30 a month to spend on fun stuff. Yeah. So $15 was like a lot. Now I'm in a fortunate enough position and privileged enough to be able to just like $15 is like, I have Taco Bell one day instead of going to get fish and chips. It's like, it's not that bad for me, but I can see that being a pretty big frustration for a huge number of players, either through principle or because budgets just don't allow for both. Yeah.
Okay.
I do wish that they included subscription time in expansion purchases. I think they do not. You do not get more subscription time.
So
maybe we should split it, Andre.
I have a question, and this can be about Final Fantasy XIV, but it can also be about any MMO ever. Are there any MMOs with really engaging gameplay? Because I've tried like 4 different MMOs, and every time I've fallen off because it's just horribly boring. And like you're doing fetch quests. No. I tried WoW. I tried Riders of Icarus, which was kind of fun because it was purely mounts. And like I tried Final Fantasy XIV a while ago. But
what was that space one? Like the sci-fi?
What, EVE Online?
No. It was like a third-person like character RPG. But it was it was like sci-fi, came out a couple years ago.
I'm not sure, but like, does Final Fantasy XIV get around that problem? Is it more engaging with its gameplay? Is the RPG enough? Like, I didn't like Old Republic either for the same reasons, but
so I think you would find it to not be any more engaging in terms of the like leveling and story content. Those games, like a lot of MMOs, the idea is like you spend all this time doing leveling and story content, learning your role and character class so well. And it's not necessarily, I could see someone saying it's boring. I don't personally think it's boring because I think it's really satisfying. But I can see why anyone would say it's boring. And then when you do some of the larger, more complicated and engaging group content, you have to play your role a lot more effectively. And then it becomes much more challenging. I would say the magic classes in Final Fantasy XIV tend to be more cerebral from the jump than other stuff. And they have some kind of wild classes as it goes up. But to be honest, to answer your question, they actually simplified all of that with Shadowbringers. Like there used to be 2 different kinds of resources that one of them primarily the war classes did, the physical classes did, and one of them primarily the magic classes did, but with some overlap. Now there's just mana, and everyone has 10,000 mana all the time. So there's almost no resource management now. So really, again, I think the combat's pretty satisfying, but you should come to it if you really want the story aspect. And in that way, like it's kind of like visual novel-y because there is so much like standing and talking to someone, but then broken up with some cool like cutscenes and character moments and stuff. But one thing that I can't drive home enough is that it is so much better written than most MMOs. It's really smart.
My group of friends who play it constantly and invited me to their chat group about it because I said I was thinking about playing it again, are frequently talking about how it's the best story going in video games.
I have heard like some of the like vague, I can't make sense of any of it, but it does sound like they do some neat stuff. But yeah, okay, Final Fantasy XIV, that's a video game that people that came out of, like, it's been out for a while and then suddenly everyone's like, oh, it's real good. And now a bunch of people are trying to play it. And That's neat. Nice to hear that they turned it around. But we're going to take a brief, hopefully brief turn from the video game talk to hear about the hottest Korean pop music going.
Oh boy.
And guess what? We found Allison for it.
Hey, Allison.
Smokes.
I slept through my alarm, but the idea of talking about K-pop just woke me up. No joke. I actually had a dream about going to Kcon LA last night, so I feel like this is like fate.
Girl, if you get to go, oh my God, please take some.
I'm not. I can't. It's so expensive.
It's so expensive. As somebody who just went, it's so expensive. And I live here. I didn't have to get a hotel. But God, I don't know.
You got a high touch.
I did. We lost Allison though, I think, right?
Nope.
Oh, she's back. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm back. Sorry.
It's okay. So yeah. So let me tell you how it works first. I went to Kcon, New York. And the way that it's set up is it's 2 nights. During the daytime, there's a convention in the Javits Center, and then at night on both of those days, there's a concert in Madison Square Garden. So I only went to the first day. I only bought tickets for the concert for the first day, and then the convention tickets are like a 2-day pass, but I just decided not to go the second day because I was really tired. And I had already done everything I wanted to do the first day. So the convention tickets themselves are not very expensive. I think it's about $30. But you have the option to add optional, like I think they call them artist engagement packs. So I bought one of them. They range to a very wide the most expensive tickets you can get, and that includes like a concert tickets and things like that. It's like it's a very, very, big thing. I think it's like $1,700 or something like that. It's ridiculous.
Like $1,800 tickets where it's like you get goods, you get like first you get like the best area for the concerts. You get like all the audience engagements and stuff, but I'm like $1,800.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. So these artist engagement things, were these blind packs?
So the really expensive one, you have access to all of them. Mm-hmm. All of the other ones though are blind.
Which is bananas. I that's like honestly one of the biggest issues I have with it. Yeah. It's like
this is terrible.
Yes.
Like, because I very I'm not to spoil things, but you ended up being able to meet your boys, but like I very specifically want to meet like the artists that I like.
Right? Yeah, that was my issue, is that I stayed up until 2:00 in the morning, and then I woke up again at 5 because I was up all night trading on Twitter trying to get the boys. And I ended up having to pay somebody to buy their ticket, and then I sold my ticket to somebody else. So I ended up like, okay, and like breaking even. But like that was like, this artist engagement pack got me a high touch. And the way the high touch works is like you get kind of like a preferred like standing room, I guess, for what they call their audience, which is like they, say hi, introduce themselves, play like a dumb game, and then the high touch after. And then you get 2 audience passes. That's
high touch is just like a high five, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, you got about 3 to 5 seconds to like blurt something out per member. So if you're thinking, if you got your brain turned on, like you can get something out. But
you're not gonna have your brain turned.
Yeah, girl, did I not have my brain turned on?
So no, just thinking about like the couple of times I've done that for like J-pop groups, I'm just like, wait, what happened?
Yeah. And Alex, not to be annoying, but can you switch the video to the first video I sent you, because like that one, I'm in that video quite a bit.
Hey.
So it's really uncomfortable. It's so awkward. So when I finally got to the high touch, this was also on top of the $30 and on top of the concert ticket, which was also very expensive. I can't remember exactly how much that costs because I got decent seats. Then the artist engagement pack was another $150 on top of that. And that got me 1 high touch. And I ended up drawing Eyes One, who are great, but they're not my ultimate group.
Which is fair. Yeah.
And the second And then I got three audiences. One happened to be for the boys. One was for AB6, who I like. Two of the members were in 101, so I guess they're popular because of that. And I forgot who the last one I got was now, but it ended up being like, it was really shitty. On Twitter, people were like, hey, I have, I'm trading G Idol for any boy group, and like it's like that's kind of a bad mood.
Yeah, I've heard people say that about like Kcon, where they're like, where people in the chat or in my Facebook group for Luna were like, please cheer for girl groups. I'm like, that's so sad.
Yeah. To be fair, I'll talk about it more in a bit, but like IZ*ONE had like some of the loudest fan chants at the concert.
Why do people not like the girl groups? What?
Boy groups are more popular.
They're just generally more popular, like both in Korea and both in like international fans.
Yeah, I would say the hardest high touch to get was ATs. And like I didn't really know anything about them going in, but now that I've seen them, I kind of understand why. They're like a whole ass stripper group. Like it's like, I'm not mad at them. That's what they're going for. It's not really for me, but like, I get why people liked them a lot and were going crazy, because it was really hard to get those passes, I know. The boys were also pretty difficult to get. I managed to find somebody, thankfully. So yeah, so let me tell you about the high touch. First of all, if you're watching the video on the stream right now, you can see me. I have a ponytail and a bright blue bag that says Bloom Bloom on it. And anytime my bio speaks, I am like waving like a crazy person, just yelling. It is the most embarrassing video I've ever seen of me. I am mortified, but it is what it is. I was very excited to see Sangyeon, and but yeah, so it was hosted by this woman who, like, I don't have a lot of nice things to say about her, to be honest. Like, first, like, she was not extremely knowledgeable, which is fine. Like, I get she's probably translating for a lot of groups, but she said, oh, I heard we don't even need me to translate because Kevin and Jacob speak English. And then the crowd was kind of like, oh, Eric does too. And like, she was just like, no, my producer said they don't want Eric to speak English. And so I kind of took that as like a joke, but like, it was weird.
That is a very strange joke.
But then like, she started like, I don't know, she was like picking on Eric. Like, it was like Eric was intentionally slowing down the high touch line, and you could tell he was doing it on purpose so we would get more time with each of the members. And she kept saying, oh, this is one of the best moving lines. She's ended up saying at the end that it was like the best moving line they've ever had in Kcon history, because I don't know, I guess like the bees just stay unproblematic, but like nobody grabbed onto any of the members, which was good. But I know, right? So,
like, you generally have to worry about stuff like that.
Yeah. So, and apparently it's been a thing a lot in the past, but it was not a thing with this particular high touch. But she kept yelling at Eric for like slowing down the line intentionally, but whatever. Eric seemed unbothered. I also saw a clip of her at AB6's high touch, where she is yelling at the crowd for being too loud, and she's just like, well, I hope you guys all speak Korean because I can't translate then. Just like, I don't know, she seemed not the nicest person, but whatever. I was grateful to have her to translate, even though she was not my most favorite person.
So
sorry, go ahead.
Why you go to Kcon if you don't have an artist engagement pack? What are you doing? What are you doing at Kcon?
There's a convention floor. Like, there's like,
what is on the floor?
There's a lot. So one of the other things we ended up doing was something called like a Star Live talk. So there was like a big stage that had the boys on it at some point, and they were doing an interview. I actually sent Xavier to stand on that line while I was in the high touch. That man is a saint, let me tell you. He got hit in the head a bunch of times by like a fan site for the boys, like one of their cameras, like with super long lens, and it just kept like bopping Xavier in the head over and over again. He's the true MVP of Kcon, honestly. But there's panels going on. There are, I ended up going to a fan club meeting for the boys, which was also they did like a trivia. Have you guys heard of Kahoot?
Yes.
Okay, I had never heard of it, and then I told Xavier, I was like, "Have you ever heard of Kahoot?" He's like, "Of course I've heard of Kahoot. I'm a teacher." I'm like, okay. It's like some kind of phone trivia thing.
Okay.
I had no idea.
I mean, it's not necessarily like you don't have to play on the phone. I guess web browser based, I guess. So we did that. I got 5th place out of like 45. So if that tells you how little of a life I have, then that was me. But okay, let me get back to the high touch. So I get up to the stage, right? I met up with like another, she was a girl. She was like a teenager. She was like very nervous. And I was like, oh my God, I have to protect you. So she's like already like in tears pretty much. Like while we're walking up, she's like, can you please go in front of me? I'm like, I got you, girl. Don't worry. So I'm like going in, I'm like, oh, I'm so confident right now. Everything's gonna be great. Everything's awesome. Then my first member is Eric, and Eric is intentionally slowing down the line. And I was like practicing in my head, like what I was going to say to them. Cause I was like, okay, I need to come up with something that's 1, really easy for me to get out in case my brain shuts off. And 2, something that's like an English phrase, cause I didn't memorize anything in Korean, that everybody in the group would know. So I tried to use everybody's name, and I just said, Eric, it's nice to meet you, right? I just went with it's nice to meet you for everybody, right? So I got to Eric, and I'm like, hi, Eric, it's nice to meet you. And he goes, it's nice to meet you too. You're having a good time? And then he hits the whoa, which was a weird mood. And then I ran out of things to say to him. So I told him, by the way, my name is Erica.
This is very good.
It was so embarrassing. I was like, oh God, I just want to crawl in a hole and die now. So, oh my God, it was awful, but it was great. And so I don't know, but I turned my brain back on, and I just, I said hello to all of them, like, hi, Q, it's nice to meet you. And everybody is all nice to meet you. They just said nice to meet you back to me. And they kept telling us it's a high touch, not a high grab, but all the boys kept like cupping your hand really aggressively. So I'm like, they think it's a high grab. I'm into it. So,
you're not going to say no.
I'm not going to say no. So I got to Sangyeon, who's my bias, and he was like the 3rd from the end. And so at that point, I'm like, I guess I got calmer throughout. Like the first few, I was kind of freaking out, and then like towards the middle, I started to calm down. And then I saw Sangyeon. My brain just like was like, okay, just you have to say words to him. So like, I just like blurted out like, "Hi Sangyeon, it's so nice to meet you. I love you so much." He just goes. The whole time also I'm like holding my chest and I'm like trying to breathe. So he's like. He goes, "Oh wow, thank you so much. It's nice to meet you too." And I'm like, ah. I literally made that noise at this man's face. It's so embarrassing. But,
I bet they're kind of used to it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. But like I'm also a lot older than the majority of their fan base, so
They don't have to know that.
yeah. But I don't know. It is what it is. But I don't know. I had a great time with the high touch, even though Kcon is a mess and extremely unorganized.
It sounds like that.
Yeah, it really is. I'll also say about Xavier, he really, I sent him immediately to go to this Star Live talk, which was just a stage that was in the middle of the floor. And they were going to go straight to that after the high touch. So I knew I wasn't going to get close. So I got him to go stand on that line. And then I met up with him after. And like Xavier, like, he knows about them just because, through me, I guess. But he saw Q, who is one of the members of the boys, and I'm about to drop a picture of him in our group chat. And he said, "Oh my God, this dude looks like an episode of Monster Factory. That is the longest neck I have ever seen in my life."
Oh my God, I saw people like editing pictures of him. Like, but what if he had a normal neck?
Yeah.
This guy looks like Littlefoot.
That's awful.
They're like cute, but if he
We
had
can't
normal
do this. Come on. We're better than this.
ever seen.
Listen,
I
I
was
love
like, wait, is the edit like that they made his neck long? It's like, no, they just gave him a normal neck.
Give him a normal neck. So, I mean, he's great. He's fantastic. He's one of my most consistent bias records. I love Q. I love looking at his face. He's got a really long neck. Like, it's outrageous.
It is comically long.
I don't. Oh God, I feel bad.
I have nothing but nice things to say about him.
I have a friend who has a long neck, so I can say these things.
I can't.
Is it a giraffe?
He looks like one.
I can't say any of the
No, I
things.
just
in my
like the
head 'cause
idea of
they're all
Andre
mean
being
and
like-
not things we should say about people.
Littlefoot is an icon.
I love
and
Littlefoot.
we stan our king. We stan a legend.
So anyway, let me tell you about the concert real quick too.
I just looked up the boys, like facts about the boys, so that I could like know more. And Q's special talents are giraffe and pigeon impersonation.
Oh my God, I've seen them. He gallops like a full
Not sure.
giraffe with the head. It is
Oh
so
my God.
outrageous.
Isn't there a girl who runs like a horse?
Yes, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I don't know what that is.
Well, that's a behavior. I'm a little more okay with just pointing out how ridiculous that is.
He's very much aware of his neck.
Oh
That
God.
helps. But anyway, okay, so Madison Square Garden. First, at the beginning, they had Kevin Wu come out, who I'm not super familiar with, but he was very charming and very nice. He kind of like opened the show. He had two really fantastic backup dancers that were getting like the crowd really hype. And then they brought out like sponsors. They brought out like Toyota, and like people were weirdly cheering for Toyota. I'm like, this is kind of strange.
Yeah.
Wait, why didn't they bring out Kia?
Yeah.
Toyota.
Look at the hamsters. Like, what's up?
So they brought out Toyota, and then they brought out like Asiana. They brought out like one of like the Asiana Airlines
Isn't Asiana
or
Thai?
president. I don't know, but they were letting us know that they've added like one extra flight to Seoul a day, and just people were freaking out. I'm like, what is going on? Like, why are we marking out for Asiana Airlines right now? It's just the weirdest thing.
They worked themselves into a shoot, brother.
I guess so. I don't know, but then I don't know. Then they did like two like special stages that were not televised. And it was Atiz did Sicko Mode by Travis Scott.
What?
Yeah. And then the boys did Bad Guy by Billie Eilish right after.
What?
And
That's kind of rad.
it was great.
Yeah, that's just interesting.
Yeah, like the boys ended up doing two special stages. They did Bad Guy, and then they did Fire by BTS. And like I would say, like I don't know who gets to do those, which songs they do, but I don't know if it's their management company, if it's Kcon, but whoever it was, I think they picked really well, because like if you didn't care about the boys going into it, they picked one of the most popular songs that's out right now, and to a BTS song that's like literally those are the loudest fan chants of the night, where the BTS Fire fan chants. Everybody there knew that song, you know? I don't know, but whatever. But yeah, the boys ended up doing like a few other songs. They did like their most popular song, No Air. They did Bloom Bloom, which is like their newest song. They did Right Here, which is like my favorite of their singles. So I was very happy about that.
Was Bloom Bloom the one from that phone game?
Bloom Bloom, the one from the phone game.
Oh no, so I'm thinking about BTS. Never mind.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
Okay. Bloom Bloom is the
God.
one that I talked about. I talked about it on this podcast before too, that like I was
Yes.
trying to figure out how to like vote for them and stuff. Yeah.
Right, that's what it was.
I low-key get the chorus for that stuck in my head sometimes. So
It's so good.
it's a very good song.
So yeah, so I don't know, they were just fantastic. Sangyeon, he's still my bias. He has purple hair for the first time. He's only ever had brown hair before. I'm very excited about it. Then I also got to see TXT, or Tomorrow by Together, which is the new group by Big Hit, which are the people who manage BTS. So I was surprised that, people weren't more on one. I mean, people knew the songs definitely, but they didn't have very loud fan chants, which I thought was very surprising. They're adorable. They're like children, but they are so cute. Everything about like their performance was really good and polished and really cute. The girls behind me were talking about their song Cat and Dog and how they don't stan it because they don't stan furry culture. I don't know if any of you know what this song looks like, but it's kind of furry culture. Like it really is. Like it really is. Like the song is like about like, I want to be your pet. Take me on a walk. Like I just want to play.
Nice. That's that's not just furry culture. There's multiple cultures that.
You know what? I do stand furry culture because I stand Sonic Fox.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm here for. Also, real talk. Having been to a few music festivals, furries are like the nicest people at those festivals.
Totally.
That's what
I am all right with furries in my book. Like I went to one furry rave once because it was a friend's birthday, but it was like the nicest collection of people. So
seems like it get real hot.
Yeah,
it did. At the time, yeah, it did.
Yeah, like so if you stand furry culture, highly recommend Cat and Dog by TXT.
I mean, I'm gonna point out that there's a Venn diagram of cultures that might be interacting in that song. That is not furry is not. Those terms are not exclusive to furry culture.
Furry is probably far on the very slight.
There's like a place where furry culture clips that other circle.
Because that's like a different. That's like we don't need to get into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
The other groups that were there were ATEEZ and New East. I don't have a lot to say about them because I don't really know them that well, other than they were good, I guess. New East I thought was. I'm interested in listening to more songs from New East. IZ*ONE was also there. They are like, I don't know, Allison knows more than I do. They're related to AKB48 and all of the 48 groups.
Yeah. So basically they were formed from a reality survival show, Produce 48. It's part of the whole, like, there's a big Produce reality show that's gotten pretty popular. The group 101 came from them, IOI. But yeah, there are 3 members in it that are Japanese from the 48 groups.
Yeah, like they were excellent. They were amazing. They played some really cute games like up on the stage where they like, if they were successful, they got like prizes that they could throw out to their fans and stuff. It was
cute.
It was really cute. And like one of them was like, they had like a keyword, and on the count of 3 they all had to pose in a specific way, and so one of them at one point was Michael Jackson, and they all had to pose the same way, and all of them got it right except for one, and that member I looked up is Yujin because she has completely won my heart. I love her. She's great.
She's cool.
She's so cute. Also, I thought she was like one of the oldest members based on her hairstyling and her height, but that girl is 15 years old, which is a whole other issue.
Yeah, there was a lot of issues with that with Produce 48, especially with like the center who's Won Young, who's either 15 or 14.
Yeah,
and she was performing some really questionable stuff on Produce 48, where you're like, maybe you shouldn't have children perform that. But
yeah, maybe not. But I don't know. Chaeyeon is great too. Her dancing is fantastic. She has hair goals. I can't. It's One of the other ones, Che Wan. Is that one of them? She's got bangs. So she's like, she looks exactly like Felix from Stray Kids to me, and I like couldn't unsee it. But highly recommend them too. And the last thing I'm going to say about Kcon is that in the few weeks leading up to Kcon, I had so many pimples on my face. I was like, I had so many like stress zits. And then the day after Kcon, I've got like none. And so I'm not saying the boys cured my acne and meeting the boys cured my acne, but maybe you should. And the boys
100% did.
I don't know. Like,
hey, science can't prove otherwise.
So
exactly.
the cure for eczema is to go to Kcon.
Yes, go touch the boys, and then you'll be all right.
The boys.
With their consent, please. Please don't just grab them.
Not like ass
They're
catch 'em.
filming something in Brooklyn.
Do not ass catch them, the boys.
They're filming something in Brooklyn. I don't know if it's a new music video, but they were like in Coney Island the other day, and they have like big heavy duty cameras, and I'm very excited about it.
Don't they all have like YouTube channels? I feel like that's
but they wouldn't break out like the big cameras.
True.
For that,
Well, has anybody seen them singing and or dancing?
I don't know.
See, you gotta get a drone and fly it over there. It's probably illegal. All right. That is your K-pop update. Thank you.
K-pop fix now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm glad you had a good time, and I'm very, very happy that you got to meet the boys, because I was like thinking about that. I'm like, Erica has to meet them.
Like, I was talking to one of my coworkers about it, and she's just like, Erica, like, she's like, why are you letting? Like, I would never let anybody know that they had this kind of like, influence on me. Why would you tell anybody you love them and stuff? And I'm like, but I do though.
I don't think there's anything.
I'm gonna like hit you up, and he's like, Erica, I need a green card. I need to get out of Korea. It's bad. It
doesn't have to be romantic.
I need a green card marriage so I can escape.
Right, and it's not romantic love. I'm very happily married.
No, but he knows that you love him now. I would do anything for him, and if he needs a green card marriage to escape his crimes in Korea, then he can count on you.
I love the members of Coheed and Cambria. I would say to all of them to their faces. In fact, I have said to most of them to their faces that I love them. It's totally platonic, though.
Would you green card marry them?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. See,
they're all from here, so
but this is a hypothetical situation.
Hypothetically, sure. I wouldn't green card marry them and then like do stuff.
Well, bigamy
that's just not my thing.
Bigamy is a crime, and so if he was like, Erica, I need you to divorce your husband and marry me so I can get a green card, like.
I mean, Xavier's already a citizen.
No, yeah. This is what I'm saying.
Speaking of furry culture, what about that horrible pets thing?
Oh yeah, Professor. I keep calling it Dr. Lupo. It's Professor Lupo and his horrible pet. There's no furry ones. They're all like aliens. Professor Lupo and his horrible pets came out this week, like the 11th. It's on Switch and Steam. It is a puzzle game where you play a balding ginger intern who is the highly disposable intern of Professor Lupo as he shows off his alien creatures to a variety of warlords for use on a war-ravaged Earth. This game, like, it's a neat puzzle game. I'll start with that. Like you're just trying to make it through like area to area. So you start at like one end and then you have to make it to like the door at the other end of the area. But you've got all these monsters in the way, who each monster has like, unique characteristics. Like the first one you encounter like will stick to walls because it can't see, but it can like sense you using, I don't know, science. It can like sense where you are, so it'll like stick to walls and like try to stay near you. So if you walk by a door, then it'll come out the door and start chasing you down. But you can like, close a door between you and then it'll get stuck, stuff like that. And so you're navigating through spaces. But like, this is where like my main complaint with the game comes in. The intern moves so slow. And it's just very obnoxious. And all the aliens like, you know, move faster than you, and like understandable, you need to put like some danger in there. But I would have preferred if there was like, I can sprint for a little bit or do something to move faster. Just because he walks so slow, even when people tell him to run. So that's a little frustrating. But so you're walking through the space station, and you've got there are nodes like on doors and like control panels. Some of the nodes you can activate remotely, and some of them you have to be like right next to them to open or to like activate. So like you can be like, okay, I need to get over there, so I'm gonna like walk over there and then close the door behind me so that way the monster can't get me. Or you'll be like, okay, I'm in this room, the monster's over there. If I open this door, then it can come out, it can go around this other way, then maybe it'll eat this other monster. Or it'll let some poison into like a bigger area, and that'll kill some monsters, and then do stuff like that. So you're kind of activating things from afar and like pre-planning things out. Mm-hmm. I played it on Switch and on like a Pro Controller, and it really wants you to use motion controls. Like it wants you to point your controller at the screen and use it as like a cursor, which with the Pro Controller is not good. It's just, it doesn't feel right. You can play it without the motion control, but like there are definitely moments where it really wants you to use it. So there was a point where I had to actually take it out of the Switch and like use the touchscreen instead of using like the motion controls, because it was just so bad. Because there are points where you have to use the motion controls, but I think if you're going to play it, you should probably play it on PC. I think it would be much better using like a mouse to like click where you want, because you can either like, okay, I'm going to directly control using like the like D-pad or like probably the WASD keys or arrow keys, or you can click at a point with the mouse on like the floor, and then while you're moving, you can then click on the nodes using the mouse or the motion controls if you're into that. But I would not recommend the motion controls. It's not good. But it's a neat puzzle game. They touch on like a lot of weird stuff like AI sentience and like the future of Earth and, you know, stuff like that. They don't go anywhere like super ridiculous with it, but there are some like not branching paths, but like very varying narrative bits you can get. If depending on like if you complete certain objectives. So if you're looking for a puzzle game, Professor Lupo and His Horrible Pets it's all right. It's pretty neat.
Sounds like the best puzzle game, in fact, that we've talked about on this podcast.
Today, yeah.
Aside from the fact that we talked about Tetris for a minute, but
well, you know, you can't beat perfection. It's like ascended. It's not even a puzzle game anymore. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But it is like there's like a bunch of different kinds of enemies, and like so you have to like learn about their behaviors and how they work to like actually solve the puzzles.
Is it purely single player, or is there a co-op portion to it at all? Is there user created stuff? Is it only just that campaign? Are there
there is challenges? Only the campaign. Like you can go back obviously to the levels and like replay them because there are like collectibles. There are like collectibles and extra like objectives on some of the levels. And so getting those is actually pretty challenging, like figuring out how to maneuver, because like getting to the exit is usually pretty straightforward mostly, but getting like the, you know, extra stuff can be an interesting challenge. So if you're really into like puzzle games, then it's, you know, a good way to, you know, find that stuff. And I think it's like, you know, levels aren't so long that like the Switch is a good way to play that game, because you can like play a level, put it down or whatever. So yeah. But yeah, I read in like one preview or review that there was like multiple difficulties, but I did not see that on the Switch. So yeah, it's a neat game. I keep doing it. Professor Lupo and His Horrible Pets. There's like a xenomorph, like there's one monster or one alien that it like uses its sense of smell to like hunt its prey. And so if it like you get close enough and it smells you, then it'll chase you down. But then if you like go through like an oxygen shower, it like makes it lose your scent. and then it can like pick up the scent of another monster, and then it'll chase the monster. Or if you go through a door and close it, it'll like knock the door down, so you can use all that stuff to your advantage.
Yeah, seems
so
neat.
there's over 100 levels, so it's like a pretty good value. It took me a couple hours to beat. I don't remember exactly how many, but I was surprised by the length, and I had a good time. So
that's what she said.
Yep.
I have a review of it up on my. You can find that on my Twitter. So yeah. Anybody got anything else you wish to talk about? It is late for me, so I would like to wrap up, but
I would also like to wrap up, but I do want to point out that I played a little bit of Atlas, that like disaster of a Arc conversion game, and it's fine. It's a lot like Arc. It's not as broken as I assumed it was going to be. I think it just had a really horrendous launch, and people still playing it have played it enough that there's not enough to do anymore for them. But it has a defecate button, so I thought it was important to talk about on the cast.
Well, I mean, Arc had a lot of pooping too, so.
Yeah, in Arc you can't control it though; you just poop. And in it's Atlas is a little more civilized, and you control when you poop.
Okay, cool. No, that's all I need to know.
I believe you can make your poop into fertilizer for crops,
just like real life.
I think that's how it works. I don't know. I'll report back. I'll probably play a little bit more of it at some point.
It's been a weird amount of poop talk.
What? We talk about poop all
the
the time.
It's not that weird.
It's
outside of the Dump in the Dark podcasts, like in the world.
Oh, you spend a lot of your time, a lot of your life.
There's been for the amount of poop that I normally hear spoken about. Yeah, I don't know words. For the amount of time I usually hear people talking about poop, the last like week has heard a lot more poop talk than normal.
Interesting.
Like vastly increased. It's very odd for multiple reasons. Anyway, okay, that is going to do it for episode 78 of the Gaming Fix podcast.
Wait,
on this,
I got two brief. I got two brief ones. Two brief ones. This will take no more than a few minutes. Okay. Stranger Things 3, finished it. It was good.
Woo.
It was the best of the Stranger Things seasons. I thought Stranger Things season 1.
I think so too.
I thought
cool.
I got into Stranger Things season 1 before it had all that hype, so it was really cool watching that people like fall in love with it. I thought it was just okay, but it was really creative. Season 2 I thought was not as good as season 1. Season 3 I think is the best of the 3.
Interesting. Okay. I midway through season 2 got like really, really mad at one of the storylines, and I was just like, fuck this, and bounced. But
I did the exact same thing. I wonder if it's the same storyline.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm curious also because I'm 2/3 of the way through season 2 right now, because I watched 2 episodes of it and then didn't watch the rest of it back when it came out.
I would say season 2 of the 3 is the weakest. Season 3 is fantastic. And Sam, you said you kind of concur?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's easily the best of the seasons so far.
Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing where they go from here. It's because they kind of leave stuff hanging in a really interesting way. Like not in like a crappy cliffhanger. Like they tie all the ends they need to, but they leave stuff just open enough to where it would actually be interesting. The other one I got, and we'll talk about this for let's say 45 seconds, is Attack on Titan season 3, which I finished because it just finished last week. That's a series I can consider myself a hipster of. I've been reading the manga for years and years and years and years, for like 6 or 7 years. And this was the arc that I thought if they were going to do justice to the whole story, this would be it. And they totally fucking nailed it. And not to be too spoilery, but something you need to know about Attack on Titan is that it's kind of like Nier, and they play it really straight up until the point where it's like Nier, in that you know how in Nier Automata the actual game starts with ending C, like that's when they drop the title card. That's kind of what like the last bit of season 3 is, where season 1 and 2 and everything leading up to that part are kind of just the introduction, and then that point hits and that's the actual start of the story.
Cool.
So, and it's
I will
really
watch
they
it
handle
someday.
it extremely well. Like I think it's they nailed it.
Weird.
So
Okay, cool.
Very good.
So now this has been episode 78. Don't you dare say anything. I know one of you is going to try it. Episode 78 of the Game and Fritz podcast on July 13th and 14th, 2019. Thanks for joining us. You can find me on Twitter at Coolslaw, COOLSL4W. Alex Jelena, where can people find you?
you can find me on G2A selling only the best keys.
Oh God, fuck off.
I'm just kidding. No.
I know. I'm kidding.
Sam, where can people find you?
The United Kingdom.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Allison, where can people find you?
Find me on Twitter at WRITERSERENYTY.
Okay. Pat?
And if you crush garlic, Allison comes out.
No, if you invoke Kpop, I will appear.
If you steam some kimchi and sing a melody,
I'll just be like, what?
Allison will appear.
Steam kimchi in front of a mirror 3 times. Pat, where can people find you?
Hang on, let me just talk to you about our Lord and Savior Luna.
You can find me at PJC Plays and on Twitter, and also that's my. I guess I don't know if your Maker ID on Mario Maker. You need the numbers.
Yeah, don't bother.
And you can also find me tomorrow morning watching the British Grand Prix, which is the thing I've decided to do in the last hour.
Okay. And Erica Hernandez, where can people find you?
At Erica on Twitter and Instagram, AIREHCUH. You can see a bunch of my Kcon pictures. And also, I wanted to say really quickly a thank you to Ren Oni on YouTube, who let me use her video of me screaming like a lunatic for the voice.
Okay. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week with more video game talk. Less K-pop this week, because I know everyone was so into it. I'm glad you got to share that experience.
I'm gonna fight. We're gonna throw hands in a month.
Okay, I will book the Tokyo Dome for us. I've got 3 friends coming to Japan just to watch the G1.
Really?
Do more than watch the G1, but people coming for the purpose of seeing the G1.
Yeah, I mean, we booked our dates around the G1 for sure. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, goodbye, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.